Hey, companions. So, we're really excited to bring you this latest conversation with Michelle Hurd. She's incredibly intelligent, super fun, and a total badass. But I just quickly wanted to let you know we're doing this new format, these video bookmarks on points to highlight that I think we can learn a lot from. We did this with Stephanie Chakowski's interview as well, and we thought it just worked really well. The comments were really positive. So you'll see me jumping in from time to time to help elevate those points, and I'll think they're going to make for really good bookmarks and kind of discussion points and talking points for yourself. All right, so let's get on to our conversation with Michelle Hurd.
Just can't change my emotions. Come on, love me again. You're all I need. Can you love me again? Come on, love me the way you did. I just can't change my emotions.
Companions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wells Davis. I help my co-host for this event, Lawrence Cal, to run the companion. How are you today, Lawrence? Are you out in the woods?
I am deep out into the woods. Some of the members know it's my wife's 40th birthday, big milestone birthday.
Woo-hoo.
So the internet connection's a little, it'll be a little spotty, but we couldn't miss this conversation, could we?
Absolutely not. If you've been following the companion recently, you know we've got a lot of cool projects going on, but we also intend to keep bringing you engaging live streams and other events and videos as always. And today is no exception. So I'm not going to delay any longer in welcoming Michelle Hurd. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello, hello, hello. My pleasure, as always, to see you. It's always good being in the room with you, my dear.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we met, for anybody that doesn't know, we got to do a live panel in Philadelphia at the D&I Con, and it was really great. It was actually the first Embracing Mental Health as a Fandom live panel. So
Wow.
you got to do that one. We've been doing the live streams for over a year now, but that was the first IRL one, if you will. We will put it out there that both Michelle and I are also watching the Olympics as we are doing this live stream.
It's just over there. It's not going to distract.
If we glance.
That's right.
I feel like I need to turn on the Olympics myself as well.
Because there just may be a moment that we're in conversation, then we go, oh my goodness! So just want you to know, it's for good things. It's just seeing some amazing runners. So
absolutely. And also, before we dive any further, this is a reminder that none of us here is a mental health professional, and we are going to be talking about some mental health subjects. So if you are currently in crisis, please seek professional help. In the US, you can dial 988, but we also have a whole page on our site dedicated to all the resources depending on where you live in the world. So if you go to thecompanion.app/mental health, you can find a lot of different options for you there. So take care of yourself out there, please. Without any further ado, Michelle, I would wager most people watching today know you from Star Trek Picard, in which you played Raffi Musiker. And Raffi was really far from that stereotypical Starfleet officer that we were all kind of used to seeing. And we have a question already from somebody that you probably know, but I think it's a good, especially in talking about mental health and that your character being such an interesting example in a lot of ways. So your first question from a watcher out there is from Marushka.
Marushka.
She says, Raffi has changed my life in so many ways, being introduced to this character who was clearly not doing okay in any way and battling so many personal battles. Someone so perfectly imperfect, as you always say. And being able to relate to her in so many different ways has definitely changed the way I look at a lot of things in life in the best way possible. How has this amazingly, perfectly imperfect character changed you, not just as an actor, but also as a person?
Well, thank you for the question, Marushka, and it was wonderful seeing you in Las Vegas and giving you so many squeezes. Raffi has impacted me profoundly. Um, I know not just in the fact that this is an amazing gig to have gotten, and most importantly, this community that has welcomed me has been uh, so precious to me. But one of the things that Raffi has really done, and it's really come to even more clarity within this last couple of years, with just a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world, just all that stuff is to um, honor and acknowledge and appreciate and learn from all of my uh, perfectly imperfect flaws. Um, I'm not perfect. Never said I was. Um, I don't really know anyone who is perfect. Don't think I want to. Uh, but I absolutely have my own struggles. You know, I stumble and fall just as much, if not more, as Rafi did and does. Um, and learning how to have grace for myself, to be gentle with myself, to acknowledge that the flaws that come out, it's interesting to say flaws, isn't it? Uh, the things that come out in me that perhaps other people don't find as attractive, maybe my strong voice or my temper, my obsessive, almost OCD uh, um, um, commitment to certain things. It's all part of my life, of how I got here. It's comes from perhaps wounds that happened in my earlier life, things that impacted me that I had to learn how to navigate. And as a youth, maybe those things presented themselves more aggressively, more untethered, more unfiltered. As an adult, I'm working very hard to have more of a grasp of that kind of stuff, but it doesn't mean that I don't stumble sometimes. And Rafi has really allowed me to go, yeah, Michelle, those things are part of you, and they are not coming from any place that's cruel, that's malicious. In fact, they probably come from places of protection and um, self-defense, reactionary things. Um, and what I have tried to do in my life is to have space and hold grace for those people who are enter into my world and have issues. And the one thing that's the hardest for me to deal with is when my issues are not held with the same kind of space and grace by other people. It's very frustrating because you want to go, I see the flaws in other people and I accept them and I go, okay, okay. I should, and again, flaws, it's tricky to say those words, right?
Right.
The perfectly imperfect things about other people. And I sort of go, okay, let me navigate that. And then it's frustrating when other people don't have that same grace for you. So
Mhm.
I think what I've learned with Rafi is because yay Worf at the at third season and seven, but she was really doing all this on her own, trying to figure out how to navigate everything on her own. And I think from Rafi, I realized that it's okay, even if you're on your own, you can do it. You're all right. It's okay to stumble. It's okay to fall. It's okay to make big mistakes. Um, Love that little person, that child inside of you, who is now an adult, um, but love her for all of those perfectly imperfect um, parts of her. So thank you, Marushka, for that question. But yeah, that's what I've taken away from Rafi.
Kind of asking a follow up to that. When we're kids,
Yeah,
we fall all the time, like literally fall all the time,
literally fall.
right? And that's how we learn. That's how we learn to walk or ride a bike or swim or anything. Where do you think we kind of learn
Mm,
this idea? Like, how did it train, like learn out of us or trend it
yes.
out of us? And How do we kind of get that back? I don't know if you have any
No,
thoughts on that.
it's a great question, right? Because it's really the question. Yeah. My sister and I were talking about youth these days. You know, she's a teacher at Alvin Ailey, and so she interacts with young people all the time, and she has kids, and there's something interesting or sort of a little frustrating that's happening with our youth is that they really, really don't like to be embarrassed. Like,
Mhm.
it's such a big thing, they just don't like to be embarrassed. And I guess that kind of comes from my generation of uh, the bullying thing of where um, because you were different, you were ostracized or you were bullied, right? And so I think that embarrassed shame thing is that nowadays because you have the cell phone, you have your social media that you can literally like, oh, you know, I don't fucking know, like, oh, they someone falls or trips or their underwear is tucked into their pants or whatever, and now it's video and now it's passed out and everybody sees it. So there's this weird thing about you know they're so obsessed with not being part of the group, of being humiliated, uh, and I think that's where we begin to homogenize ourselves. We start to sort of shift, like, oh, this is not a real example, but oh, nobody's wearing black, I won't wear black anymore, even though I love wearing black. It's just a strange sort of thing because you're trying to fit in with other people. So I think that's where it begins, is when
Yeah.
we start to put our self-worth in other people's hands, which is just terribly dangerous. It's really terribly dangerous, right? I've always
Yeah.
said to actors, when I talk to young actors, I say, the most important thing is for you to be your biggest fan. Because if you wait for someone else to be your biggest fan, you may be waiting for the rest of your life. You may it could happen the next day, but it also could maybe not happen. So you have to be your biggest champion, your biggest fan. You have your biggest spokesperson. And somehow, especially with social media, we have literally put all of our self-worth not only in other people's hands, but in people's hands that we don't even know.
Yeah.
Strangers on a cell, who didn't like me, or who are saying terrible things that I don't even know who they are. I don't even
Right.
know who they are. And they're
Yeah.
like, "You're stupid. You're ugly. Your clothes are." You want to be like, and then it affects us, right? It affects us. So I wish that we could, that's where I think it starts, when we start to sort of allow ourselves, and it could be peer pressure,
Yeah.
it could be, which we all know is incredibly powerful. Peer pressure is no joke. It could just be looking at your phone, looking at your social media, and wanting so much to be a part of that false world, because nobody puts their bad days on social media. I mean, not, you're generally like, doing whatever. Um, but I think that's really part of it. And I wish that we could sort of empower our youth, to remember, and not just our youth, us as adults, to just remember that, love this vehicle,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
one vehicle that you get in this one lifetime. You know, respect it, cherish it, feed it. You know, give it love and appreciation and rest and all that kind of stuff. And maybe then we don't mind if we fall and stumble and make a fool of ourselves, because it's okay. It's
It's okay.
okay.
I think that social media piece is so true, and it's such a big deal, and we at the Companion have gotten so much out of social media and our community
Yes.
and everything, and people are able to connect in ways that they haven't. But then on the other side of that, it's that manufactured perfection that social media creates. Like, clearly none of these people are embarrassing themselves or falling or anything, so I can't either. I literally just put a stupid TikTok dance up
Ew.
on one of my socials, specifically to encourage my friends who get a little too
Right.
self-conscious about things. I'm like, literally, it doesn't matter. Like, just
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. But it's that people are afraid to post the flaws or post the
Yeah.
things, post the falls, post all of that,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
just makes everything so much harder, especially for young people who are not comfortable in themselves yet, and they haven't figured
Yeah.
things out.
As you're speaking, Michelle, like there's a
Mm,
comment, I guess, that came to my mind, and then also almost like a question follow up to that, which is what we used to have, I guess, anyone 35-year-old and older probably,
mm,
you go through as kids, and then maybe you learn what's cool and not cool through middle
mm.
school and high school.
Right.
But then you do have this like reset moment if
Yes.
you either go to college or a junior
Mhm.
college, or you start working. And it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting. There's like an equalizer moment because, oh, you're from New York. I don't know what New York is like. I'm from California. Or you're from the Midwest or international school. And
Mm,
then,
mm.
I was very lucky. I got to go to graduate school and I moved abroad. So I live in England now.
Oh,
And then no one knew anything about me, and I got to almost like
yes.
start over again. There wasn't those cool
Yes.
expectations because they didn't know what high school was like in America,
Mhm.
let alone California.
Right.
And as you were speaking about social
Amazing.
media, and Wells, you the same thing. We're starting to learn a little bit more of like what it's like, and I hope we don't lose that ability to, you know, have those moments where we can reset our lives. I guess
Mm, mm.
um,
Yeah.
because we start to like learn. I was also very lucky being able to, speaking of the Olympics, like I was a part of the 2000 Olympics, and you got to see 200 countries worth of people. And at first you kind of almost find it like, I don't know if frustrating is the right word, but they don't do things the way you do it.
Mm, mm,
And then you quickly learn out because in Japan, they don't do it that way. Like, why would
mm.
they do it that way?
Right.
Um, and I guess my comment, or to finish it off, is I just hope social media um, almost like doesn't. I hope it brings us together, but it doesn't kind of makes
Yes.
us all understand. Well, this is what cool on the high school of TikTok is, and or
Yeah.
Instagram cool. If
Right.
that makes sense, it becomes this 2 billion person campus. That
Yes.
doesn't work either. Um,
That's such a good point. A 2 billion person campus. Wow.
yeah. And my question though then became, because I know you were just in Las Vegas and with
Mhm.
tons of Star Trek fans, and I'm sure you've experienced Star Trek fans from all over the world. Like, what
Mm.
are they like? Are they different? And do they kind of take on almost like values of Starfleet, or how does that kind of work, I guess, from your perspective? So
That's
that kind of came to my mind as well.
Yeah, that's a great question. But before what
Yeah.
you're saying was just such an interesting and observation and such a powerful truth. Because I did the same thing. As I keep saying, I'm a native New Yorker, grew up in Greenwich Village, New York. Definitely went through my little, delinquent times. Indulged in way too many things. But when I got to college, because I went to Boston University, and I knew that I had to leave New York to go to college. I knew I had to leave my childhood habits and go to a different place, right? And I did the exact same thing. Like when I got to college, I was like, Michelle, nobody knows you. Nobody knows you here. Um, let's take a new step. You don't have to be mad, you don't have to be aggressive, you don't have to be defensive. Let's enter into this in a new with a new energy. And it does really give you that opportunity to, I don't want to say change ourselves, but to allow ourselves to grow, right? To
Mhm.
allow ourselves to have learned from the things that we've done, and choose whether we want to keep doing those things that we learned in our childhood, or we want to start to do something else. So I think that's a powerful thing, and hopefully that'll be something our teens can really start to think about and embrace. It would be so great if they could start earlier. If we could just somehow empower our teenagers to be kinder to each other. I mean, just straight up kinder to each other. It doesn't matter what your outfit is, what your label is, what your hair is doing, what your this, that thing. It's, just stop, just, and remember that we're all on this one tiny little planet here, and we have to get around along. And Wells said something when you were talking about manufactured perfection. I think and again, you want to be like manufactured,
It is.
manipulated, edited,
Yeah.
soundtrack is added. I mean, for goodness sakes, it's not. And again, you know, like I'm the first person if I'm walking on the street with my nephews to do something ridiculous on purpose, like ridiculous, especially if we're in New York City. I just love it. I'll just like, start singing or I'll jump up, do whatever. They're like, stop. And I'm like, why? Because I want to show like it's, there's no rules here. There's no rules other than, not being cruel to each other. That's a big one.
Absolutely.
That's a big one, and when you start tiptoeing in that area, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's all on you. That's all on you. And you know it. And you have to, you got to check yourself and not do that stuff.
Okay, quickly jumping in here. We've said this before, but I'd like to remind everyone of it again because I think it's so important. There is no set path. There are no set rules. There are no standards that we're supposed to follow. Somehow, the media or society has created these idealized versions of people and the paths we're meant to follow. Here's the one true fact. Everyone is flawed. Everyone is weird. Everyone makes mistakes. If you ever see anyone who seems flawless, normal, or perfect, the only reason why you see them that way is because you don't know them very well yet. We are all perfectly imperfect and perfectly imperfect.
With our trekkers and our trekkies. So funny, there's that whole definition, trekkers, trekkies.
Trekkies.
I was like, okay, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but
Starfleet High.
Before you go into that, I just have to let everybody know that my heart is pounding through my chest right now.
Is it happening?
It's happening.
It's happening.
It's happening. There's final lap, so now it's the push. We'll see if Nikki Hiltz. Oh my gosh. I'm like, my heart is pounding so fast right now.
It brings me back to I did track and field. I did Colgate Women's Games and Police Athletic League, and I did the 55, 220, 400, and we did relay as well. And gosh, I have like a little PTSD every time I go through. Yeah. I always remember like the last route. I think I did I went to some running camp and I did like a mile race or whatever. And I remember coming around the bend and me and this other girl, we were just neck and neck. And, you tell your body to move faster. And it's almost like there's like your torso is disconnected from your legs because you're telling your legs and they're going and going and you're like doing this and you're almost like, I think they're moving. I can't even, because you can't even feel it almost at a certain point. And then you just feel yourself like just, separating from the person and you're just like, keep doing whatever is happening. Keep doing it. Dig. And
dig.
That
yeah.
line. It's crazy. Anyway.
Oh, my favorite did not dig. It's okay though. That was a really fast race.
Sorry.
Right. We're talking about Star Trek or something, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know what, Lawrence, I think the interesting thing about our trekkers, our family, is that when I meet people from different countries, our conversation about Trek is pretty much the same. Everybody kind of gets it, which is a beautiful thing. Like that's an amazing thing. That's what I always say about art. Art is the, great neutralizer. Like everybody can be affected by art, by painting, by music, by dance, by sculptures, by acting, singing, all that stuff. It doesn't matter what country you're from or what politics or whatever the fuck. We can all get impacted by art. And that's the beautiful thing. I think the difference is when I talk to people at Trekkie from different countries and we talk about America. I always feel so. I'm always like, yeah, I know, and they're like, wow, what up? And I'm like, I don't know.
America does love to kind of rate itself, I guess is the right word, or compare itself to America. I remember, I was very fortunate to go to Oxford University, so it's about 900 years old as a university. And when we first got there, most of the Americans would say like, wow, this building's 600 years old. It's 300 years older than America. It's like, right? America is not like, like 0 AD or BC, like it didn't start then.
I agree. That's the same thing. Like when I go to Europe and stuff, I was so funny because then you come to America, you're like, see this building? It is 50 years old. I mean, look at that thing.
Yeah.
50 years. You're like, wow, like
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
I'm in Europe, that's hundreds of years old.
Yeah, I sound like such a jerk now. Everyone's like, "Oh, you should go to like whatever my university. There's so much tradition." And they're asking like, I went to New College. Like, what about New College? I was like, yeah, 1379. So
Yeah,
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 13.
exactly.
there's some tradition there too.
Just a little bit.
Anyway, sorry, but no, the reason why, and bringing it back to the Trek thing, is
Yeah.
because I lately some of the comments and emails that we've gotten, it's quite interesting.
Mm,
We oftentimes think about identity through race and gender and those kind of things, but categories. I've
hmm
started to notice when people sometimes don't have an avenue to reach out to, or maybe the types of groups that they thought they would get support from, they don't quite get support. Fandom has almost become this third, fourth, fifth identity for them. And
mm,
they can go and reach out to us, for example, for questions or help. Like I might live in a small town and everyone hates this thing about me, and I can't go to my parents or I can't go to my friends. And I've always been really stunned, and recently very stunned.
mm,
You're coming to us because we understand inherently a show that you also had watched,
mm,
so it was almost like easier for them to describe maybe what they were going through.
mm. Yeah.
And yeah, so I was just kind of I've been experiencing that personally, and I'm wondering
I,
if you kind of experience the same thing. And yeah.
I actually have a question from somebody that goes with that too,
Mm.
if you want me
Oh,
to
you
piece
do?
that up
Okay. Oh,
too, and we
great.
can
Nice
then
team.
Yeah.
talk about
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
thing. So this is from Mary. Mary says, for the fans, meeting our favorite actors at conventions can be absolutely life-changing. To meet the actor behind a character that means the absolute world to us, and to connect to them in wonderful ways, making us feel seen and heard.
Mhm.
How's it been for you to attend those conventions? Have you ever felt your life has been changed because of meeting someone? Any special interactions you can share with us, or moments that felt you feeling absolutely humbled? I think the connecting to each other part is what made me
Mhm.
think of that, Lawrence, what you were talking about.
Sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Excuse me. Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that are, about Rafi, um, is her addiction. That she's an addict, and so I've been so, humbled and grateful for the people who have come up to me and shared their journey of addiction, whether they are struggling in the moment, whether they are in recovery. Um, there's such a vulnerability and uh, innocence and honesty that they share with me that just absolutely blows me away, and it hits me every single time. And I'm so honored and I'm so grateful, and especially when we talk to people who said that during watching Picard and watching Rafi struggle and seeing her journey to the end, gave them the courage to get on the wagon again. I mean, it's just that's an amazing gift again from art. You know, it's the sacred form of storytelling that will just help us survive. And that's one of the things why it's just so important to see ourselves, all of us. I mean, look at the three of us right here. See us represented in the world. When you see yourself out there, on a screen or in Big Little or whatever, you're not alone. You're not alone, and you can go, there, that's that person. And one event that I always talk about, which happened in FedCon actually. Um, I was signing, I was signing, and I think I had put my head down or something, and a picture, a charcoal rendering, like 11 by 14, was put in front of me, and it was of my father. And my father's no longer with us, and it was shocking in that moment because was sort of out of place, and I didn't really know what was going on, and I just kind of was like, my breath was taken away, and I sort of looked up, and I think I had probably some tears in my eyes because you know, you see your dad, and your dad is not there anymore, and and it was absolutely beautiful. It was a beautiful rendering. My father did a film called Shadows with John Cassavetes, and it was back in the day, and it was like a rendering of the poster. And I looked up, and there was this, lovely young lady who she's autistic, and she sort of said, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you." And I was like, "No, no, no, you didn't upset me at all. No, no." And I said, "This is beautiful." And I asked her if I could give her a hug, and because she should always ask. And she said yes, and I gave her a hug. And then I said, "Oh my goodness, why, thank you, and why?" And she said that she had looked, watching Raffi. She became a fan of Raffi because she felt that she had been, that Raffi's often misunderstood. She's by herself. She's on this, all this sort of stuff, which is very true for a lot of people on spectrums, and lots of us in general in life. And she said, so I also wanted to look up you and see, learn about you. And she learned that my father was an actor, and she found out that he had passed. And she said, "I thought maybe you wanted to have him near you."
Hmm.
And she, and it's that kind of thing that is so unexpected. You would never think something like that would happen. Um, and it's that beautiful thing, that gift of community, of our community, of the Star Trek community, of the community of acting, of art, and the community of humanity reaching out to each other.
Mhm.
So that's always been something that I think about, and definitely impacted me. And the Trekkie family impacts me every single time I go to any con. There's not one con that I ever go to that I'm just like, check, done, let's go.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
Sure.
I mean, and anybody who's been to a con and interacted with me has probably seen that I'm long-winded. I will talk to everybody for as long as they want to talk to me, because why not? I cry, I laugh, I get enraged, and by stories that people share with me, and I'm not, I'm unfiltered. I'm exactly who I present to be. And so every single time I'm at a con, it impacts my heart and my soul, and I'm always grateful.
We have Sophie in the chat that actually has a good follow-up question, kind of leading that you just said. So Sophie said, "Hearing all those personal stories can be overwhelming. What would be your routine to kind of get out of that overwhelmed state?" And that hits me hard too. And like Lawrence was saying earlier, we're starting to receive more and more of these stories and reach outs and everything that it we I love to talk to people too, and I'm sure you get so many more than I do even, but it gets exhausting sometimes. So how do you take care of yourself?
Yeah, self-care is incredibly important, right? It's really, really important. It's interestingly, it's one that I have to work on, because I'm
I had somewhere in this outline, do you remember to put the oxygen mask on yourself first? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I
we
had
talked
that in
about
there.
that.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. Got to put the oxygen mask on first. I think one of my traits, which is also sometimes a hindrance, is that I'm loyal, and to a fault. I'm generous to a fault. I would more likely jump out of bed and go when somebody calls and asks than not answer the phone, because it's just in my DNA.
Mhm.
So there are a couple things, sometimes when I'm done with the con, I really just need silence. I just need to um, uh, maybe curl up on the couch or the bed or whatever, and just, I just need not to talk and let my face sort of relax, so because it's been smiling or whatever, and just silence. I have two things that I lean into nowadays. And people are gonna be like, "She's crazy." I love watching true crime. I love forensic files, cold case, any of that stuff. It's very soothing in some weird way for me. I hear, like, uh, Peter Thomas or Lester Holt sort of saying, "And then there was a knock on the door," and I'm like, "What happened after that door?" So it's
The
something like,
number of women or of people assigned female at birth that say that true crime is
Yeah.
soothing,
it's
it's a
true.
thing. It's a thing, yeah.
It's an actual thing. There's
Mhm,
percentages, and it's quite high.
mhm.
And I also now like neck deep in K-dramas. Absolutely obsessed with K-dramas.
Just all drama. That's
Oh
all
my
you
god,
want. Just,
I
yeah.
love it. Like revenge drama, love drama, like all of it. And it's interesting because I was thinking about it the other day, like why it is, I could be in my apartment, in New York, whatever, watching a normal TV thing and I sort of fall asleep, and then I put a K-drama on and I don't. And I realize what it is that because I like to have them in their voices, so the natural, their language. So I have subtitles. I've said it many times, I'm dyslexic. So it takes me a period of time. But what it does, it actually fully engages all of my senses, because I have to, I have to read, which is already, right there. We're already like a little challenge because of dyslexia. I also want to see the actors because I really appreciate what they're doing. So I will oftentimes, watch it. I pause, I rewind, pause, rewind, because I can't read that fast. So I'll do that quite a few times when I'm watching an episode. And then I will, if it's a really, yummy scene, I'll do that till I understand it. Then I will rewind it again, and I'll now watch the actors because I now know what the scene is. So it fully engages all of me. I can't think about anything else that's happening. I'm alert. I'm awake. I'm focused, and I'm intrigued. So I think that without even realizing it, that is one of the a really incredibly helpful way for me to power down, so to speak, because I'm fully focused and engaged. And then the other thing that we do often at these cons, which is like like the cherry on top, is my Star Trek family. We will try to go out to dinner and see each other, and like that's just the best. We in Vegas this last one. I remember sitting around table, and there's Michael Dorn and Santiago and Jerry and Marina and Jonathan Franks. You know what I mean? It's just the best,
Right.
and it's literally the best. And the conversation is so fun. I mean, it's so fun. And, then as well, the night before, seeing Terry Matalas with all of his, 12 Monkey cast, and, and hanging with Todd Stashwick and Anthony Rapp and Sonequa. I mean, and Tawny and Eugene. And I can't, it's like, that's another way for us to sort of power down and just kind of, it's funny, right? I was going to say power down and fill up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Power down, but then fill up with life.
It's so interesting. You said you almost like analyze. Sorry, you almost watch cold cases like you're analyzing like sports film or something. That's how I'm describing.
100%. Absolutely. I'm like,
Yeah.
right. Don't park near a van with no windows. Copy that.
Yeah. And then same thing with the K drama. It's like, okay, we're gonna have to go back and analyze this relationship now. Like,
100%.
when did this happen?
100%.
But from like a mental health tool
Mm.
perspective, I have seen it's so interesting. I think what you're saying is the way you need to completely immerse yourself
Yeah.
in, first the writing and then the scene and then the
Mm.
acting. Sometimes when you can't fall asleep, or to help you get to sleep because there's so many thoughts going through your mind, they oftentimes say, playing a puzzle game like Tetris, because it requires so much of your focus. You can't actually be thinking about work or anything else. You'll lose the game very quickly.
Right.
Those kind of games, for 10 minutes really help you then just like forget everything else. So anyway, for anyone, try Tetris.
It does make perfect sense though. There's the whole idea of if you're feeling anxious or you're kind of worked up, you take at least one of your senses and distract with it for someone.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
I tell people all the time sour candy is my favorite way to do that because your taste is one that you don't think to use that much.
Oh yeah.
But it makes perfect sense if you are literally every sense, everything you're having to focus, that it pushes everything else away. And then you kind of you hit that reset button then because of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wanted to quickly jump in and highlight this one point. It's a little bit longer of a thought, but I think it's kind of a theme that's going to kind of spread out throughout this rest of the conversation, which is putting your own oxygen mask on first. It's a term that we hear often. So I don't want this to sound just like a platitude. And I also think it's something that we all say, but we really don't do. And I was thinking about it. Why is that? We all know we should take care of ourselves in order to help others. But why do we ignore this? And I think it's because putting your oxygen mask on first has this negative connotation. At least I see this negative connotation. And there's this negative image in my mind. Because I think what you're saying is save yourself first, then save your kids sitting next to you after. And the reason why I see it that way is because on every single flight I've ever been on, we see this video where there's turbulence and all the oxygen masks fall, and you're supposed to put on yours first and then you help your child. So although the theory of putting on your mask before helping someone else, like that just really jars with me. It doesn't sit right. I'm not going to not help my child first, or my friends first, or my parents first before myself. And I think with many of us watching today, I think there's this inherent nature of wanting to help others. It's why you're here as part of the companion and watching this video. You're very likely the kind of person that is kind, and you want to, invest and nurture a community into your friends and family. And this is what at least I've seen at conventions or online in our Discord. So I know that to be true. And I can see how this image of an airplane oxygen mask is something that we'll ignore because we're still going to help others first before we help ourselves. It's that servant mindset, and that's an awesome and great mindset. Don't lose that. But I'd like to offer you a different image, and it's inspired by one of our members on Discord, Moonbear. She joined her town's fire department because of the massive fires in British Columbia right now. And she recently just got back from her first deployment a few days ago. And she posted an update with a photo. And she had this badass suit and helmet. And it's just really inspiring stuff. And the community, I think, has really rallied around her. And I was looking at her photo, and it struck me that firefighters, heroes like Moonbear, they all have oxygen masks. But for them, it's not to save themselves first in order to save others. It's literally a necessary tool to save others, just like her axe or a hose or a helmet or anything else. Without the oxygen mask, she literally can't save cats and dogs and other people. And that photo, and me thinking about that photo, it really started to reframe it for me. You put on your oxygen mask first. It means you want to help other people. By putting on the oxygen mask, it doesn't mean you save yourself first, then you save others. It's you have to put your oxygen mask on in order to save others. So I want us all just kind of think about that a little bit. And as we continue to watch this conversation with Michelle, it's going to come up again. And maybe that reframing is going to help us all, allow us, I guess, to think about, maybe I should put on that oxygen mask on first in order to help others.
We had a really interesting part of the conversation in Philly that I kind of wanted to talk about again. And I'm going to use this question from Claire to kind of kick into it. And it kind of is already talking a little bit about what we've been saying anyway. But here's the question. It is, Michelle, you are a true inspiration on and off screen. In a world that feels extremely polarized and divided, how do you successfully navigate the balance between your activism, the support you provide to your fandom, who resonates deeply with you and your character, and the necessity of prioritizing your own mental health and well-being? And that's from Claire, one impossible thing at a time.
Claire, who's just amazing. Her art's amazing. And it was lovely seeing you as well, Claire, and giving you a big old squeeze
Love it. So I want to use that to also talk about in Philadelphia, we talked about your role in the strike, SAG-AFTRA strike.
Yeah.
And it really hit me when you kind of took us through what that was like, what a day was like that, and how you managed, this is where the oxygen mask part came in my outline here.
100%.
But I don't think people quite understand just what it was like and just how stressful and taxing that whole situation was. I think people think of strikes and you're just hanging around or whatever, but when you took us through that at that panel, it was fascinating to me. So if you wouldn't mind kind of telling us about that.
I mean, it was a lot. I mean, it was a lot, and it still is a lot, because it's not like we, everything's done and we're just like, yay, happy joy. Because if you talk to any actor right now,
Right.
it's really, really challenging, we got gains for sure in our contracts, but it's almost like we're being chastised for it. They're not
There's like
allowing.
the video game stuff going on right now
Well,
too.
there's
Yeah.
interactive. We're on
Yeah.
strike now for interactive games. Yeah. But it's been challenging, and the strike was a really hard. I mean, it was just a real. That was 7 months, you guys. 7 months of battle. So think about that, right? For
Yeah.
7 months, you're in a battle for your career, for your livelihood, for the
Yeah.
ability to make a living in the thing that you have respected and loved for decades. And all of a sudden, there's a possibility of it being ripped away. I mean, it was brutal. And then, I hate to say it, but to be in the room with those people and to see how the sausage is made, so to speak, was incredibly sobering, was incredibly heartbreaking, and was a big old bucket of cold ice thrown in your
Mhm.
face. All of a sudden, really quickly, you're like, oh, so they don't care that people are don't have insurance. They don't care that people are not able to pay their rent. They don't care that they can't fill their refrigerators. They don't care. This is about
Mhm.
a portfolio. This is about making your quarterly. This is about showing profit. And if you don't show profit, it's okay because we'll get tax breaks because we didn't make a profit for them. And we're just
Mhm.
like, you know, wait a second. We're actually just asking for you to raise the minimums that you haven't raised for 40 years.
Right.
So that was, it was an incredibly painful and uh, rage filled, experience, and then it was really crazy to sort of get to a place where we came to a contract, and then we wanted to get it ratified, and it felt like overnight, the groups that were our champions all of a sudden, thought we were their enemies. And they were like, why are we going to sign this contract? You guys have, sold us out. And, literally it's the last thing from our minds. We were fighting for every single thing. I mean, really fighting for every single thing. And, you know, it, it was really, really hard. And all we kept thinking was like, look, if we don't get it this time, when there's two, the next contract's coming up, and we'll go after them at that point, because that's the way you have to be. You have to think about a contract. And we're trying to think of 160,000 members of actors, let alone the thousands of crew that are not working. After 7
Mhm.
months, we have to come up with a solution. So that was a real hit, to have people like, yay, 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 and then shame on you. You're just like, wow. And why would anybody want to do union work? Why would
Right.
anybody want to do union work if this is the trait that has that comes
Whiplash. Yeah. Yeah.
whiplash?
Yeah.
But at the same time, um, I can't sit still when I see injustice.
Mhm.
It's I'm my parents' child. I'm the child of civil rights activists. And once I got into union work and saw behind the curtain once again, I was just like, well, how can, from my point of view, how can you not try to work hard to make sure that everybody's taken care of? I don't have that luxury. I don't have that cell in my body where I'm just like, yeah, I saw that. That sucks. See you later. I mean, it doesn't
Right.
work that way. I'm gonna fight. So it was an incredibly challenging experience. I'm so proud of of all of our members and all of the people who showed up and picketed with us, who weren't even part of the union. I mean, thank you so much. It was hard fought, hard won. Nobody's fully satisfied. Those guys aren't satisfied either. So it's not like they got over on us.
Right.
They're not satisfied, and that's why it's challenging. Like production hasn't gotten back up because they're still hurting. But and I don't know how, honestly, how other than what Wells said, is I just had to every now and then remind myself to put my oxygen on. Every now and then, I just literally had to go, okay, Michelle, you need to just take a moment, just stop. Again, the chatters, silence, watch a K drama, watch a
Which
forensic file, do what you can, play
Te-
te-
yeah.
Tetris,
Tetris. Yeah.
Tetris, eat some sour candy, but just something to just kind of reset yourself and begin again. because it's not like you reset and you go away. You reset, you take a deep breath. Okay, let's do this. Because when you're on the right side of history, you're on the right side of history, and you do what you have to do to get it done.
Can I ask? I mean, it every day you're going in to either have a meeting with the actors in your team or
Mm,
negotiating. It feels like such a roller coaster, and also
mm,
probably something that's not normal, right? Or at least in the beginning, it's not normal. It's not what you expected to do. And like how I guess for me, for example, I start to get into a really good rhythm of eating healthy and exercising and doing all these things. And then
right,
I have to go to a convention or I have to go travel. And then everything just gets blown up.
right.
Right. And how, I mean, you probably, not only just from the strikes perspective, conventions and everything else, like how do you keep some semblance of a routine or a healthy
Yeah.
routine? And then I guess the second thing is, we've had other members ask this before, which is like, well, how do you then get prepared for
Mm,
a negotiation
mm,
or a job, an audition or a job
right.
interview? Because again, that's like a break in kind of normal everyday routine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you have to have something that you give yourself, and it's going to sound cheesy or whatever, but to me, working out is my sort of my church. It's the whatever half hour, 45, 60 minutes, whatever it is that I'm literally focused on um, giving this vehicle the respect and the nourishment it needs to uh, to continue on this journey of life, right? So it's and especially as an actor, sometimes our schedule is really wacky. Sometimes we're working, especially Star Trek, really early in the morning, late night. These long marathon days, so you don't always get a chance to work out. But prioritizing that is one of the most important things, because that is you.
Yeah.
That's prioritizing you. And just like Wells said, if I don't put my oxygen mask on, if I don't put that on, I might be able to help you. I might be able to help the other person next there. I sure as shit's not going to be able to get to the next
Yeah.
one, and then I will not be able to get back to me. So
Right.
I've only helped a couple people. But if I put on my oxygen mask, I can help everybody. I can help everybody, including myself. So that's my recipe for self health and mental clarity, is to give myself the nourishment, the respect, the love, the appreciation, to feed myself with, to literally feed myself, and to feed myself with that kind of exercising. And it doesn't, sure, yeah, the benefit is, yeah, there's a benefit, but the true deep benefit is the respect of my mental and emotional health, and
Mm.
that's only achieved by doing something for it. You can't
Yeah.
be like, I'm so stressed, I'm so depressed, I don't know what to do. You got to do something. You got to do
Mm.
something for it,
Yeah.
for this vehicle.
So hard, isn't it?
You
It's
know what I
so hard.
mean? And
Yeah.
I always say that too when I talk about the exercising stuff. I'm like, look, trust me, I never want to do it. I never want to do it. I
Yeah.
never want to do it. It's not like, what is he? But I'll tell you this one thing that I swear to God is the absolute truth. Every time I'm finished, I'm so happy I did it.
100%. Yep.
100%.
Yep.
100%.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Right?
I had to sign up for a ridiculous race next year just to get
Oh,
myself to like get moving again. Yeah. I
excellent.
have to have a goal or something like that to
Yep.
make it to like keep myself consistent with it for
Yep.
sure.
It's funny. My sister always says that when we tag team each other, like, did you work out, whatever. And she goes like, what are we training for? Because is there a finish line? I was like, we're training for life. Training for life.
Training for life. Yeah, I love it.
It's not good enough. We need a medal.
I need I need a I need a shirt. I need that race shirt. I
Yeah,
need
I
the
need a race
medal.
shirt.
I need a shirt. I
I
need a
need the
shirt.
shirt. If I don't get the shirt, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Hey guys, I'm back, and I wanted to highlight this moment here again, because it pairs up incredibly well with the oxygen mask analogy. The new image, this new tool, right, that we just talked about. Michelle talks about exercise and healthy food as nourishment for her body. That is her non negotiable. She needs that to function for acting and for conventions. And so for you, it might be exercise, but it could be a good night's sleep or a walk or hydration or a hike or whatever it is. Let's think about any of these things as non negotiable tools. It's like your oxygen mask in order for you to fight your fires.
We do have a tradition, Michelle,
Mm.
where the last guest that we've had on asks a question to the next guest or the current guest. So without knowing who it is. So we have a video question for you. And then
Okay.
we'll ask you to ask the next person a
Oh
question
dear.
as well. But here is your question first.
What would you tell? What advice would you have for your younger self?
Oh,
If you were
lovely.
talking to yourself as a 16-year-old kid, what would you tell yourself with the knowledge you have now?
Mm. Oh, and 16 was like right. that was like, oh, Michelle, why so angry? Why so crazy, Michelle? Why so crazy? That was definitely my like solid, just delinquent cray kind of time. I would tell my younger self, my 16-year-old self, to take a deep breath, to slow down, calm down. Um, you know, don't listen to everything, all the chatter, the other people's opinions of you. Don't compare what you look like to anyone else. Because remember, back then it wasn't, I'm biracial, it wasn't so in. Yay, biracial presidential candidate. Yay. By the way, biracial is a thing. Ugh, Trump. Um, uh, no, sorry, I had to just
No,
laugh.
you're fine.
It's a thing. It's
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 a
a real
thing. It's
thing. I'm
definitely
telling
a thing.
you. Yeah.
I mean, it pisses me off every time because I'm like, right, copy. So should I deny my mother or deny my father? What do you want? I'm going to keep them both because that's what I am, for God's sakes. But I would definitely tell her to calm down, take a deep breath, slow down, respect yourself, um, love yourself, be your biggest fan, um, love your parents even more,
Mm.
give them more hugs and more kisses, say kinder things to yourself as well as to others. Um, don't be afraid. Tomorrow's just tomorrow, and um, live and love as boldly as you possibly can.
That should apply to all the young people that we were just talking about earlier too. So like
Yeah,
good advice for them.
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
So, if you can think of a question that you could ask,
Right.
the next guest without knowing
Right.
anything about them.
Without knowing anything about
You
them.
don't know who it's gonna be.
Right. And because are they always actors?
No, no.
No, no. Okay. Well then, because
In fact,
we
I'm pretty sure the next one is not an
is not.
actor. I
Well then,
can give you that.
I guess I'll just because often we ask questions of our past. So I guess my question would be, um, now that it's 2024 and things are kind of spicy, um, what is it that you hope for the future, and what is it that you hope to do and achieve in the future?
One final point that actually that perfectly kind of brings up this last little question or point, to round us out here. The future and things being spicy right now, especially.
I say,
Things are spicy and not the good spicy way, the
not
bad
to get
spicy way.
spicy, right?
Nicole here says, "I was influenced by the Star Trek philosophy and really dream of living in a next generation society." This is what kind of rolls perfectly
Mm.
into. Do you think it's a completely utopian, or does she see some hope in such a philosophy?
Well, here's the deal. When during lockdown,
Mhm.
um, COVID, the multitude of videos of people being killed, innocents, the stripping away of rights of people who I love, my LGBTQ community, women. rights being stripped away, so many things. I remember calling my mom and saying, "Mommy, you were alive when Dr. King was assassinated, when Bobby was assassinated, when JFK was assassinated, when Malcolm X was assassinated. You must have felt like the sky was falling. What did you, how did you get through it?" And my mom said, "Because you have to have hope. If you don't have hope, there is no tomorrow. There's no reason to get up. You have to have hope." So I, just like our Trek world, I have hope for a better tomorrow. I believe in us. There's more of us than there is of them. And I hate to, separate us that way, but I mean, there are more people who hope for a better tomorrow, an inclusive tomorrow, an understanding, empathetic, love-filled tomorrow, a tomorrow filled with so much diversity, so many colors and shades and love and looks, that it can't help but be better than what we're dealing with. So my philosophy is to have hope, to continue that battle of positivity, of holding space for people, having grace for people, accepting us as our imperfectly imperfect beings, flaws and all. If you have friends and they stumble, they're still your friends. Love them for all that they are. And if our neighbors don't look like us and don't agree with us, we don't have to hate them. We can look for commonality because it's there. Because it's there. Because at the end of the day, we're all humans on this precious little planet, and we all got to figure it out. And we all got to figure out how to get along. So that would be my philosophy. I absolutely have hope for a better tomorrow. Sorry,
Thank
I got
you.
all emotional there.
No, it's wonderful. I do.
If
That's
we don't cry, it's not a companion event.
correct.
So
That is true.
Oh, there we
That is
go.
true.
Just
Tears
got it.
must
Yeah.
be shed.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for coming here today, for having this conversation with us, for continuing this conversation with us. It's just been a joy to have you on. So welcome to the companion family. Now
Thank
we
you,
love
Alice.
love
Thank
having you
you.
here.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.